Right, guys, welcome to the latest video for all you fantastic people out there, woodworkers, hobbyists, enthusiasts, beginners. If you are a proper carpenter, I hope you can get something out of this. Probably won't learn much, but you might get some sort of thought processes on design and stuff like that. So as you can see in the top corner there, that's me sketching out the design from a picture I was sent off my sister-in-law. Yeah. It's one of them projects for the sister-in-law. It's the third out of the three, and then I've got to start on the other sister-in-law stuff after this. So you see me there get out some 4x2 or 2x4 and a piece of 6x1. I don't actually use a 6x1. That was for another project I've got going off in the house that I needed to do. So I'm just cutting up to rough dimensions here of the 2x4s. And you will look this. I love this project. And it's one of them projects, although it was a really cool project to make, there's no money in these projects whatsoever. I mean, you can make them look really nice, but for the time and effort that goes into this project, it's for what you'd have to charge, just say at an hourly rate or whatever you do, there's just no money in it. So this is why you probably don't see a lot of these projects being made on YouTube as such. And, the makers, obviously, you know what they are, the chairs. I'm making a pair of high chairs, breakfast bar chairs. She sent me a picture over, a rough sketch. You'll see that now on the display. And I had to fit these two eye stools in with what she sent me. So, yeah, and a massive shout out to chair makers. If you're making a living from chairs, massive, you must be exceptional, because the time it took me to make these, don't get me wrong, I'm doing it for enjoyment, and sort of like these are being given to my sister-in-law, and I absolutely love the process and learned loads from it. But if I was going to sell these, what you'd get for chairs, so the actual work that goes into them, it's sort of like beggars belief, really. So massive appreciation out to all the chair makers out there. And if anybody's watching and you're looking at chairs and you're thinking, how much is that? Please just try making one yourself. That's all I'd say. And then you get a better of understanding where these guys are coming from with prices. So I'm just ripping everything down here now through the table saw. All of this is made from 4x2s, like I said. Construction pine. And it's easy to work with. It goes with what she wants. You'll see in the end how I finished them. And that style is the style she wanted, and it's the style of a like breakfast bar island type thing she's got. So everything now getting marked out, and the trick I've learned off some of the YouTube people that comment is the wood you're going to sort of slot in, use that for marking and stuff rather than a ruler. It's all right to get the where it's got to go with a ruler like there, but the actual slots and stuff like that, mark it out with the actual piece of wood. So what I'm doing there is I'm marking out where a gap will be at the back. And this marking out of what I was doing here, honestly, it was mind-bending, and I made some mistakes, and you'll see that. So I'm just going in, putting a tapered edge on all this sort of like back uprights here, so they taper back a bit. Now, you've got to try and be different when you're making stuff, and how can you be different with a chair? So it's all about sort of style. Now, I had to go to a certain look with this, but I needed to do something that, you put your own sort of stamp on it. If you are going to make chairs and sell them and charge a premium, because that's what you're going to have to do if you're going to sell them, you're going to have to charge quite a bit of money, and you're going to have to justify that, because people just won't see the value in what what you're doing. And this is one of them projects. It really, really is. So you've got to try and be sort of different, whether that's a design tweak, something that's looks a bit odd. You know, it might not be to everybody's taste, but it'll be to someone's taste who's prepared to pay that extra premium for it. If I was making chairs, I would do them in small batch runs, make them sort of one-offs, play that into the marketing, you know, sell it that way. I just wouldn't just put them out there and just hope for the best and, you know, someone's going to sell them. I'd sort of make one, you know, really sort of talk it up. These are, you know, one-offs, this kind of thing. Get yourself this, you know, small batch run, etc. And that's the way I would go about it if I was going to sell them. But for me, this is enjoyment. This is all about learning the craft. I want to become the best sort of woodworker I can possibly be. I'm far from that at the moment, but I am learning every day. You're probably noticing I'm sort of like starting to get a little bit better. And I'm probably still rubbish at it, but I'm in myself. I know I'm getting a little bit better. So there's one of them mistakes. I cut in the wrong place. The amount of cuts and stuff. So what I've done, I've just glued blocks in there, cut blocks up and glued blocks, and there's another mistake there. So I cut the dado sort of there, whatever it is, dado, and I just went too far with the, you know, with the saw. But I sort these out, and this is woodworking, isn't it? You know, you get your workarounds. And, you know, the next time you make these mistakes, you think, boom, I know what to do there. You know, I had to think about it a little bit and a little bit of jiggery pokery, and I got there. It's, you know, if you have a look at every single woodworking projects out there and you look closer, you're going to find mistakes. Everybody's in the pursuit of excellence, but with woodworking, it's one of them sort of crafts where I don't think anybody has ever made a perfect piece. You know, there's got to be something wrong somewhere, and it's about learning and getting round all that kind of thing. So the Bosch saw, the update on the Bosch saw here, it is absolutely fantastic. I can get this in and out, no problem. The dust collection on it is absolutely amazing when it's hooked up to a dust vac. A lot better than the Makita. The dust collection. I know they're no good. None of them are any good, but this is exceptional, believe me, for what it is. It's one of them things that I'm really pleased about. So I'm just going in, just sanding in, you know, cleaning all the sort of bits and pieces up here. Probably an unnecessary step, but again, it's about learning. So I'm just working out a design here. Now this is where I'm going to try and be different with this sort of like backrest design. Something a little bit modern, even though it's a farmhouse rusticy piece, I want to put sort of modern looking elements into the eye chairs itself. So I hope that comes across in the ends, and when you look at them at the end, at the final reveal, please let me know if you think I've got like a farmhouse rustic chair, but that's also got a modern sort of vibe going off with it. She wanted farmhouse rustic, but you know, I just needed to do something different as well. So these are all bits of mahogany I had lying about. You remember from the old tabletop? I've still got bits and I keep them. So I'm just cutting some clubs from that. So an antique table now. Bits of that is going into this brand new sort of pair of chairs. Oh, and I forgot to mention it is a pair of chairs I'm making, not just one. So nice and easy. More marking out now. There was a lot of marking out on this. The cuts. What I would say is if you're going to make chairs and you're going to do these lap joints, half lap joints, dados, all that kind of stuff on various sides and that, measure, you know, like they say, measure twice, cut once. Well, you know, I've made the mistake, haven't I? Measure 5 times. That's what I'd say. Just measure, take your time and make sure, because when I was cutting them dados where you see me with a block, when I was actually doing the cut, after sort of one cut, I knew I was wrong, and I thought, why have I done that? And all it would have done was took me 10-15 seconds just to step back at the beginning of the process of that cut and realise what I was doing wrong. So I'm just going in here with me Bosch pillar drill. These pillar drills are good as well. They've got laser on them and variable speed, and they're not too expensive. I think I paid about £300 for this. They're less than that now. I'll put a link down below to one if you want to go and have a look at one. But they are really good. You know, for a small workshop like me, I've got to get everything in and out. You can leave them standalone if you've got like a shed, a garage or whatever. But it's got that variable speed, which makes them really, really good. So lots of sanding. This is the pre-sand. I'm just going over everything here with 180 grit. And there it's all cut, all ready to go. And Shelley's got a nightmare of a job in her hands here. Now, the colour my sister-in-law's chose is this one, which is a medium oak. I'm not the biggest fan of this colour. And sometimes when you're doing stuff, and this is another thing why I don't like selling what I do, because, you know, when people want specific things, you're sort of tied to what they want, aren't you? I know that makes good business sense, but to me it takes a bit of the creativity away. I'd have done that a total different colour. There's that other mistake, so I will fill it in with that. So now just a bit of assembly time, just to making sure dry fitting everything, making sure everything goes where it should, making sure I'm not going to get any more nasty surprises. And everything feels right. You know, I'm really enjoying this build. I really did enjoy it, apart from having to look at that colour, that stain. I don't like the colour of the stain at all. So the idea was I was going to cut all these joints and I was just going to simply glue them in. 90% of the cuts and joints I've done, I would have got away. I would have been able to do that. But there's still that sort of 10% where joints were a bit loose, all that kind of stuff. So they needed sort of a bit more. And I had to use screws. So if you're using screws in sort of 10%, I had to go over everything just for the design, really. So it was always in the back of my head, that sort of plan B. I might have to do that, but it was just that I just wanted to try. I just wanted to see and test myself, but it didn't work out this time what I wanted to do. But it'll work out at some other time. I'll keep going, keep at it, and it'll work. This time it won't. But what I did is I've turned that sort of like little negative into a positive, because I've be using them plugs, which still gives a really good look, and it'll go with that sort of farmhouse rustic sort of thing that she wants. At some point I will be making a few more chairs as projects, but more I'm going to look at some designs, not the sort of square boxy designs like the one I'm doing here for this specific project, but more sleek, modern sort of things. I've seen some really. Everybody needs chairs, don't they? I don't hardly see not a lot of people making them on YouTube. I really don't. There is some, but not many. So I'm just tapping away here, just tapping into them joints. Like some of them joints there would have been perfect. I wouldn't have had to put any screws or plugs in, and some, like I say, 90% of them. So just wiping all the glue off and excess as I go along, and I'm just using some clamps just to give it a bit of pressure onto the joints. They're like edge banding clamps there. When I bought them, I didn't know they were edge banding clamps. I just thought they were spring clamps, but they're actually called edge banding clamps. But they work well for what I want to do. Just any clamp you can get a bit of pressure on. Not too much pressure. You don't need loads and loads of pressure. And there's where I'm just cutting out that now. That's glued in, and I'll just trim that away. And it's all right. It's worked out okay. I've got round it. I've learnt there. I've learnt something. The main thing I've learned is just take a bit of time when you're cutting, and make sure you creep up on them cuts. Take your time with each individual piece of wood. Might take a bit more time. Was it the pressure of me doing the YouTube videos? I don't really know. I mean, it's not pressure doing the YouTube videos. I really enjoy it, but what I mean is, having to get a video out, is it that sort of pressures made me do that, or is that just an excuse? Personally, I think I'm just rushing and it's just an excuse. But there you go. So all the screws I'm using in here are 35mm Torx screws. Who likes me snazzy camera angles? I'm starting to get a bit creative with my camera angles. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing with the camera, but, you've got to keep trying, keep going. And you can see the back there where I've just tried to put a design element onto the back, like a bit of a modern sort of design onto the backrest. And this is what I wanted to do, and sort of like that backrest is a lot lower down. And when you do sit on these, they're quite comfortable. I'm quite surprised. One of the worries was that backrest wouldn't be high enough to support your back, but actually it supports your back and the lower back quite well. I was quite surprised. I was, quite over the moon when I give it the Billy weight test. At the end. So just tapping in the plugs now. Don't overbang them, just light tap. And this was one of them bits that just seemed to take forever. It was like screwing and plugging and gluing and these plugs, and then you sort of turn around and you've missed one. So again, just be safeguard. What I could have done there was drilled right through and put sort of dowels right through. That would have been sort of nice to do as well. I might do that in the future. Peg jointed, I think they call it. A lot of the antique Georgian furniture are all peg jointed. If you want to go and Google that, and that'll sort of give you an idea. It's one way you can age antique furniture. I will do a few videos on antique furniture and how I operate with that at some point. So again, now I'm just going over everything and sanding everything with a 180 grit, just to tidy everything up. It's just one of them levels of detail that I think's necessary. A lot of people will do this at the end of the build, and Shelley's just going over everything now again with another coat of stain, just to tidy everything up, blend everything in, doing what she does. I leave this bit to her. She's really good with the stain. Here he is, look. Come to say hello. So now I'm going over with a 320 grit, now everything's dry, just to take any sort of fluff off and bits. And I'm just opting to Danish oil this, because this will just darken that down a little bit more, to get it to the sort of final what she wants. And it's Danish oil, it's a good finish. Gets 2 coats of Danish oil, a slight sand in between. I've got these pads that are 500 grit, and you just in between that. And here's them finished. So modern, farmhouse, rustic sort of thing. Let me know in the comments what you think about them. Have I pulled the look off, do you think? Let me know. I love them. I think they're really nice. Sellable. What would you charge for these? Let me know. Nice pairs, what she wanted. And let's get on to the next project on Sunday. Don't miss it, because it's a cracker, believe me. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. You're all amazing.